Life is a casino. We don't sink, we just hit them off with C-notes. And you can bet it all. I'ma be the last one standing tall. Joey Merlino.
What's up, G?
Life is a casino. We don't sink, we just hit them off with
Tell us about ourselves.
And you can bet it all. I'ma be the last one standing tall. Joey Merlino.
With Joey Merlino.
This is Little Snuff from the Skinny Joey Merlino podcast. We would like to thank you for watching. Head on over to Patreon for the full episode. Welcome back to episode 38, The Skinny with Joey Merlino and Little Snuff. Today we have a special guest, a good friend of ours, long overdue, Paulie. What's up, my man?
What's going on, guys?
Paulie, what's up, my buddy?
What's up, man?
Glad that you made it down,
guys.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
It's long overdue.
Yeah,
We've been trying to do this for a couple of months.
But you know how the schedule happens. Being in and out of Florida, it's a crazy place.
It is. Listen, I just flew in today. It's 97 and sunny, straight out of Philly. I'm glad to be back.
They said it's freezing up there.
It was freezing and rainy yesterday, all day for Mother's Day.
I heard in New York, too.
Yeah.
That's the thing about us Northeasterners. When we're down here in Florida, we always get the update from the Northeast.
Always.
How the weather is.
Listen, when you're down here, though, there's nothing like it. It's just a way better vibe. It's great. And especially
Well, half
we're
of us
back
are here anyway.
Yeah.
Everybody's here.
Half of us moved down here anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
We're live in Podcast Junkie Studio. Make sure you go check them out. And this episode is brought to you by InfinityBet.ag. Use the promo code SNUFF50. Let's get right into it, my friend. So, straight from Bensonhurst, right?
Bensonhurst,
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I'm
He
born.
bought us a nice shirt. Show them the shirt.
Yeah, I had a...
It's too hot to wear it.
Stop
there.
You
glorifying
gotta
rats.
you got to put it up on the
Gotta
thing.
put it up.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. They can see it right
is a
there.
nice hoodie.
Because I really feel like everybody is really starting to glorify them. This is
they do.
Omerta makes this, by the way. My friend Jackie Arena, she was getting sponsored
nice.
with them, so
We gotta
she's,
buy some.
She's Vic Arena's granddaughter.
Yeah, they buried him, too.
Yeah, he's doing
Very-
that's a
He's got
story
30
that we'll have to
yeah,
get into.
we got to get her
at
on
some
the show.
point.
Yeah, we
30
do.
fucking years. He's half dead. They won't let him
Yeah,
out.
90 years old, right?
yeah, 90 years old.
But
yeah.
like you
Got
said, they're
dementia.
glorifying them. Like
They glorify
Joey
these
says
rats.
all
My
the time.
problem is they go around and they keep, and because of their BS stories, they keep other people in jail that should already be out. You know,
Yeah.
they come out with these BS stories and that. So my problem is people really do glorify them. You know how many people come up to me and say, "Oh, did you hear Sammy's podcast? You hear Francie's? Are you out of your mind, bro?
Yeah.
I don't need to hear guys lying already."
Yeah.
But I have a hard time listening to documentaries, mob documentaries, which I enjoyed. But I was like, bro, if you don't have rats, you can't even make these documentaries.
know.
I wonder how much of this what they're saying is BS and how much of it is true.
90% of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
it's
like,
the truth.
yeah,
It
I don't
really
even
is.
watch those documentaries anymore. And I used to like really enjoy them, but I'm like, I started to realize, bro, it's all rats. Like
My
these
lawyer
guys.
told me when we were on trial, he said the worst thing is a half a lie. I said, what the fuck's a half a
Yeah,
lie?
what's that mean?
Like,
It's mixed
half of
with
it's
truth,
true.
so
like, yeah,
people's-
me and you went to dinner.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, yeah, but we were at dinner. He told me he did this, and that.
Yeah, yeah. You know how
That's,
many
how
times?
that's
Yeah.
a half a lie.
But-
it's true we went to dinner.
Yeah,
we talked
yeah.
about sports. He's saying you talked about fucking
Yeah, but-
killing John F. Kennedy.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
That's,
And you get locked up.
That's how they get all their
Half
convictions.
truths.
That's how.
This is Little Snuff from the Skinny Joey Merlino podcast, and we would like you to check out A&J Flooring Kitchen and Baths. If you need a new kitchen, if you need a new bathroom, if you need a whole new house, they can handle it all. From countertops, backsplash, flooring, and don't forget one thing, they don't do it for more, they do it for less. They
get
try
all
to make
their
the story so good for
Yeah.
everybody to tune up, but that's why we came out with the podcast, and Joey's the voice for the voiceless. And
I'm
for
the voice
guys
for the
that are
voice.
in,
I'm the
guys
voice
that
for
are in jail.
Jack and all the guys
Yeah,
in
and
jail.
that's why I really appreciate you guys, man. Because first of all, if we start getting into all their lies, like we'll be here all day
We'll be
just
here
talking
till
about
next
that.
New
You know,
Year's.
but
Yeah.
it's better off to just ignore them and have somebody like you speaking truth. And that's for me is the important thing because
Absolutely.
nobody has there's no place where people like, for example, Jackie would have a voice to spread the word about her grandfather and people in her situation. It's all these guys with all these rats and they're backing up their story. Here's the thing I notice about rats, right? The thing I notice about rats is as long as they rat the story that the DA wants them to give, once they're free and clear, they can make up all the stories they want. They can tell you they murdered 100 people and they were the biggest killer. It doesn't even matter because they gave the story that the DA wanted, which is all lies most of the time, or at least 3/4 lies. And then they're free and clear to say whatever they want. They can admit to any BS story they want. So they always look like the worst, the biggest killers, the biggest badasses and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, everybody starts listening. And it's why people start listening to them.
love
Well,
it.
you just listen to lying lion
In
rats.
his case, he had that fucking Del Vecchio, the agent, that
Yeah,
crooked motherfucker.
In
We gotta
Arena's case,
expose
it
him.
was
Yeah.
Vecchio got exposed as a two-timer, like in the Whitey Bulger case. The same thing with that guy. But only that
He was
FBI
working
agent,
both sides, right?
Yeah, only that FBI agent in the Whitey Bulger case actually did get some time in jail. Vecchio beat his case, but he was playing both sides with Greg Scarpa. Greg Scarpa was the Italian Whitey Bulger, essentially. He was playing both sides.
We got to
But he-
get into that.
but he was-
We got to get her on.
We'll get her
you gotta
on
get
the
her
show.
Yeah, it's her
Works.
story, you know. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather you guys
We'll
have
save it
her
for
on,
her.
and
Yeah.
Absolutely.
because she's got paperwork
Well, yeah,
and stuff
that's all
that
we need
really
is the
exposes
paperwork.
how much railroading's been done
Yeah,
there.
so
You
the
know?
people could see it.
Yeah.
Listen, we're trying to get them all out. Bobby
Absolutely.
Manna, Vicar Musso, Vicarina. These
Marty
guys are in
Tassetta.
jail over
Yeah.
30. Marty Tassetta,
Crazy.
fucking 30-something years.
Yeah.
They're innocent.
Yeah.
It's fucking nuts.
And that's what we're here to do. So hopefully we'll get her on the show, help her out, and then
I'll set you guys up.
Absolutely. Thank you. We appreciate it.
I
But
think people would enjoy that story, by the way.
let's talk about you for a second.
Yeah.
Where did the boxing career start, and where are you from? I mean, I know where you're from, but for everybody who don't know.
I'm from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, but I'm born in South Brooklyn. My family, when we immigrated from Italy, my family started immigrating from Italy in 1977. It was my grandparents. So my mom was just turning 18. But my mom was dating my father back in Italy. So she ended up moving back to Italy, got married, and they were going to stay in Italy. My grandparents were in Brooklyn.
Okay.
But my father played professional soccer, lower levels in Italy, but he was moving around. And he got a deal in Mexico for a year for the 80-81 season.
Okay.
Joey guaranteed you if you followed me this baseball season, you'd make money. You think I'm going to make a liar out of Joey? I'm 71-74 this season, but because I bet over 90% dogs, I'm ahead over 42 units. If you want to learn how to bet like a pro, tune in on Instagram. I go live every weekday, 11 a.m. Eastern, or become a member at the Master Edge. Use promo code SKINNY, save $100 off our monthly membership. Let's make some money.
My mom was pregnant with me, and I was born in New York. That's the only reason I'm born in New York.
Yeah.
My grandparents were already in America, so my mom stayed with my grandparents. My father went to Mexico. He came back for my birth and went back to Mexico. At the end of the season in June, which soccer season is always September to June, we moved back to Italy. He didn't want to stay. And so I stayed in Italy. We would come back in the summers at times to visit, but I stayed in Italy until the end of 1986. And
Really?
then that's when my family...
Wow, that's
Did
crazy.
you play soccer?
Nah, my mom never let me play soccer because she hated soccer because of what happened with my
Because
father.
what happened with your father.
But, bro, if I get into that, it's another story. My mom never wanted me to play organized sports because of my father. You know,
Really?
and then in the end, I wound up being a pro boxer.
Pro boxer.
It's wound up how funny how life
And
winds
how
up.
did that transpire? Like, what made you start boxing? Your father get you into it?
No, my father was in Sicily at this point. You know,
Okay.
my parents separated, and my father's still in Sicily. You know, I still go visit him at times. But there was just tough situations for me when my mom's remarriage. I get along with my mom's husband now. You know, they're together a long time. But at the time, there was a tough situation there.
course.
And I wound up having to live with my grandparents. And my grandparents' house, which was back in Brooklyn. My mom had moved me to Jersey for a few years, and because when she got married, she moved to Jersey. And when I was back in Brooklyn, I was kind of losing my way a little bit. I ended up getting expelled from high school. And my grandfather made a decision with my uncles. He's like, bro, you're not going to hang out in the street and just, be all over the place during the day. He goes, because we got to go to work. Now you're not going to school. I'm not going to deal with you going in the street. So he tells my uncle, they decide they're going to take me to the gym. My uncle had messed around with boxing like a few years before. He's like, I think the gym will be a good place for him.
It's a good fit for you, especially if you're running around the streets.
Well, here's the thing, right? I've since taken, in those years I used to take some kids from the neighborhood with me. Like, they were like, oh, you're boxing, I want to come with you. All right,
yeah.
come with me.
Yeah, but you had to be fighting in high school. Did you fight in high school?
I got expelled from high school.
You left out for it.
Yeah, well, that's why I got kicked out of school. You know, it was a mix of truancy and fights. I mean, Brooklyn at that time, high school was like a jungle, bro. You know what I mean? It was tough. But nonetheless, I started boxing. I used to take a lot of kids from the neighborhood with me to the gym. Like, oh, boy, you're boxing. I want to go to the gym with you. Kids wouldn't last though, so it's not like it was like, because I was a kid who got into fights, I was made for boxing, because I brought a lot of tough kids with me to the gym. It's more so that I fell in love with the entire aspect. I had nothing really going for me. I fell in love with the entire aspect of this could give me a goal. Like this is tournament style, in the amateurs, like, oh, I can win a bunch of tournaments, and people start respecting you. One thing about when you're a bad kid, a lot of bad kids aren't really bad kids. It's just, low self-esteem because you don't really have acceptance anywhere. And I think at that point in my life, I had so many internal issues.
This is Little Snuff from the Skinny Joey Merlino podcast. And today I present you the official sponsor of our podcast, 4Q Coffee. You know Skinny Joey loves his coffee. You know Little Snuff loves his coffee. If you want to head over there, use the promo code Skinny Joey. Save 10% off and also get free shipping. When you wake up in the morning and you're craving that cup of coffee, there's only one coffee you're going to go to. 4Q Coffee. Make sure you head on over there, add the promo code Skinny Joey, 10% off and free shipping.
A lot of turmoil that my father leaving and all that stuff, that I think I just was looking for a place to fit in, and I think boxing gave me that, because once I started doing good in boxing, all of a sudden everybody's nice to you. All of a sudden everybody's like, oh man, so it becomes like the cool thing. So that's how it all started. And of course, once I started boxing late, to tell you the truth. I was 16 when I got kicked out of high school, and that's when I started boxing. Usually you started
at a younger age.
Well,
Even
usually
in
start
Philly,
about 12, 11 years
Joe,
old.
didn't like everybody go to Mickey's gym, like growing up? Like that's what you wanted to
Mickey
do.
Rosati's used to go.
Yeah.
12 years old.
And most guys,
Getting this fucking break beat off.
well, that's the
guys tell me you looking good. Stick and move. I get fucking hit with everything.
Well, that's the funny.
head's going
that's
back
the
and
funny
forth.
thing. When I first got to the gym, I thought like, I'm gonna learn to throw, better throw my hands in the street. You know what I mean? Like, this is gonna help me for throwing my hands in the street. I didn't think I was gonna be a boxer, but then as I started training, I started learning. They started telling me, you could go into the Golden Gloves, you could go into this tournament. I was like, all right.
Now your mind
and then I'm
starts
winning
going.
them, and all of a sudden I'm like, wow. I was like, this is cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is like, people are respecting me. Then all of a sudden you get a little bit even more better. You start winning better tournaments, and you start seeing promoters and managers that you see on TV with champions start talking to you.
Yeah.
So then all of a
Then it
sudden
becomes real.
that's when I realized, like, okay, I could do something with this, But when I first started, before I had an amateur fight, I thought like I was just gonna go there to better throw my hands for street fights,
So when you go outside, you wind
Yeah.
up fighting better.
Yeah.
When you start out boxing, like when you're in high school, South Philly, New York, it's fighting nonstop.
Yeah.
And that's
Every day.
back
At that
then.
time,
You
yeah.
would fight with your hands.
Every day we fought in school.
At that time, yeah.
But
same.
listen, we were kids. You never heard of a school shooting?
Never.
Nah.
Never.
Well, I think at that time the reason, there was a joke, because school shootings were already starting to happen around. The
Well, you were
Columbine
younger than
happened
me.
around
Yeah.
'98. So, but I remembered at that time they were only like suburbia, right? And I remember we had a joke in Brooklyn, like, well, those shootings don't happen here because you wouldn't be the only one with a gun. Like in suburbia, you're the only one with a gun. But in the inner city, you guys start shooting back. Guys drop tables over and shoot back. So
Well, that's what I tell them. All they got to do is put fucking soldiers outside with machine guns.
Yeah.
They walk up with a gun,
but
just
they
shoot
don't
them.
want to invest in that. They want that problem for
No,
people.
Biden loves it.
Joe, when you were growing up, and I'm sure you could contest to this too, but everybody fought and then you shook hands after and you went
Yeah.
about your day. You don't see that no more. Now,
Yeah.
knives, guns, bats.
Well, I
it's-
think neighborhood fights more. The
Yeah.
problems were into neighborhood fights too.
Yeah, like
because,
corners, we hung
because
there,
you try to intermix neighborhoods, and I think there's a positivity to that, but it was also it caused a lot of divisiveness.
Well, these
as
kids are all
you know?
fucked up today. They play video games all day.
Yeah,
And
well, that's the thing
and
too. I mean,
video
I guess
game-
it keeps them less violent, but it makes them a little bit weird.
They're all fucking shooting. They're all fucking
They're all
weird.
doing that.
That's
Grand
They're in a
Theft
fucking
Auto.
house. They watch
That's
the video
true.
games.
Yeah.
And
Because
then
they become immune to
Yeah.
the violence of
and then
that.
They,
That's
and
true.
then they get bullied. They go in the fucking school and they shoot
And that's
everybody.
the end of that.
Yeah.
There's no
Nuts.
sports involved.
I didn't think of
No,
that.
they
too.
don't even play outside.
You got to get.
This is Little Snuff from the Skinny Joey Merlino podcast, and we would like to thank you for watching. This episode is brought to you by our official sports book of the Skinny podcast, InfinityBet.ag. Use the promo code SNUFF50 for a deposit match up to $50. Use the promo code SNUFF50 for a deposit match up to $50, and always gamble responsibly.
No, they
gotta
played
get
them
the
on the
most.
video games.
Yeah,
Bro, you
video
know how many games we had in Brooklyn on the just on the stoop alone? I don't know if Philly used had the blue ball.
Yeah, of
we had
course.
stoop ball, stoop
Everything.
baseball.
We
called it
a
handball,
stickball,
stickball,
handball. We had off the wall.
Kickball,
The handball off
everything.
the wall. My
Everything.
hands used to be
Yeah.
so sore. I used to have to buy
Yeah,
the
the blue
gloves,
ball
bro.
was heavy.
'cause the blue ball,
You go to a corner store, you buy the little ball,
Yeah.
cost you 50 cents, $1.
I
and
still
then you
have
got
one or two of those saved. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know because they don't
Yeah,
find them anymore.
The kids are all fucked up. Seriously, they're
No,
they're
it's a
fucked
shame.
up.
It really is. And especially when you're growing up. And
And
you
there was
see
fights
how
about
you
the
did.
handball games too, by
Yeah.
the way.
Always.
Mad fights will break out over the handball games,
Yeah.
mind you.
Yeah, there was fights, but we fought, and that's it. We
And
shook
that
hands,
was the
and
end.
That was it.
Now, when you're growing up and you're starting boxing, like you said, 16 years old, promoters are starting to come at you.
Yeah.
When did you say, wow, this is what I'm going to do? Like, what clicked in your mind when you said, this is
it? It was
it?
in 1999. I started boxing in 97. In 99, I went to the National PAL Championships. And the National PAL Championships were a tournament that you needed to be sponsored for, or you pay your own way. So you didn't have to qualify for it out of your region. And I was trying to go. And so in my neighborhood, we had an Italian neighborhood. Obviously, there was
All the time, sure.
Yeah, all
all
Italians.
Italians, and we all looked out for each other. And I had I had Frank Cali looking out for me as a teenager. Like
I
Frank
never
Cali.
had the pleasure of meeting him. Good man.
Frank,
I heard he's
yeah,
a great
Frank was.
guy.
I mean,
Class
I'll
act.
get into the story with Frank too in a
Class
bit.
act.
But a lot of misconceptions about this. I grew up in a Italian neighborhood, right? Where okay, we're gonna organize, quote unquote, organized crime, right? But really, man, I mean, I never saw anything bad in my neighborhood. Honestly, it was policed in the best way.
that's what
We
they
looked
wanted
out
to
for
be.
each other.
Yeah, they
That's
want
what
the
they
bullshit
wanted.
on the
wanted
news.
actually
Sells papers.
when you break up these neighborhoods is when they get worse, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But Frank looked out for me a lot. Obviously once I started like setting myself in, my grandfather was like, all right, boy, you got to get a little part-time job, have a little pocket money for yourself. You're not going to school, you go to the gym, all this stuff. So as I started enjoying boxing, I started settling myself down, not wanting to get in trouble, not hanging out with some bad associations, so to speak, and I just focused on that. I met, Frank went to high school with my uncle, so I met Frank through some mutual friends, and he was looking out for me, and whatever I couldn't afford, so to speak, he would help me. He's like, yo, whatever you need, if you need anything.
Well, he believed in you.
Yeah, not only believed it. It's funny because at the time I don't know if he believed in me, but he saw a kid from the neighborhood doing something positive. I don't necessarily know he believed in me because I was small, and Italians have these misconceptions where you got to be big to be a fighter. You know what I mean? Because I was a featherweight as an amateur, and then I was a lightweight. So I don't know if he necessarily believed in me because Frank wasn't really in the gym, but he saw the enthusiasm I had. And he saw and he saw I was doing something positive. And he
Classy
saw
guy. He helped
and he saw a lot of
everybody.
knuckleheads in the neighborhood, and he's like, he wanted to steer me away from all that, and he's like, if you ever need anything for his boxing, I'll help you. So at the National PALs, I'm like, bro, I need to.
We would like to thank you for watching. Head on over to Patreon for the full episode.